Hey champions, welcome to tonight's edition of the Motivation to Elevation Facebook Live podcast. It's yours truly, Arian Tyson. I'm sitting in my office here in St. Louis, and it is a privilege and honor to be before you tonight. Apologize for the tardiness, so to speak. It's a wonder how you can have all of this technology, but then right when you're about to go live, it wants to start acting up. So I had to allow it to recycle. So here I am. And so I thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, my buddy in Chicago is on. What's up, Rita? Thanks for hopping on. And basically, I'm going to talk today about the importance of genuine relationships. And that's something that's very important. It's something that's very needed. It's something that in the days and times we live in, when there are so many people out for self, that is just something that just needs to really be broached. Hey, what's up, cuz? And be safe going to, I think you going to Vegas, or you might already be in Vegas now, because I know that you're on vacation, and I know that you and Ray's anniversary is tomorrow. So happy early anniversary. But thanks for hopping on. And so want to talk about genuine relationships, because it's a lot of phony people. It's a lot of inauthentic people that I see. And I'm not the only person that knows fake and phony people. And so with that, there are some things that we can take from this that will help us, make better decisions, help us make better choices when it comes to those that we choose to deal with, those that we choose to get to know a little better, and those that we even choose to distance ourselves from. So let's dive in. There's a difference between having a genuine relationship, or being in a genuine relationship, and having an acquaintance. Now, here's the thing. It's good to have acquaintances. It's important to be friendly. Some people are just friendly by nature. They have an aura about them where even the nastiest of people, they can get along with. And the thing about it is, we have to be careful not to get carried away with being too friendly and spreading ourselves too thin. And we have to leave plenty of time for those who matter the most to us, because our time is extremely limited. And sooner or later, you just want to be around the few people who make you smile for all the right reasons. And I'm speaking from personal experience, because a lot of people that I used to deal with, I don't deal with anymore for various reasons. And a lot of it is because they showed who they really are. And when times got rough, they were nowhere to be found. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that's watching that has been in that situation or has felt that. But the reality is that truly we all long for genuine relationships. But these relationships can be hard to find and even harder to nurture, even in our overly connected lives, so to speak. Because we can meet people in person, and we can meet them and socialize with them online. But many times these connections, they often lack a necessary dose of intimacy. And so we can work alongside other people on our jobs and, these crowded office buildings, so to speak. But our communication with them is usually centered around work and not relationship oriented. And so we may be lucky. We may be lucky to have close friends and family in our lives. But when we get distracted by social media and we become busy with work, those relationships can take a major hit. And that's something that we have to be careful about. So the question is, what can be done? Well, a whole lot can be done. But let's deal with the fundamentals, so to speak. What I've discovered is that the healthiest and most genuine relationships are normally comprised of two people who are intimately connected and familiar with each other's evolving stories. And if you're familiar to the podcast or you're just new to the podcast, one of the principles I operate by is that there is power in our story, and nobody can tell our story better than us. And regardless to what we go through in life, the ups and downs, the heartbreaks, the triumphs, etc., we are the constant in our story. Regardless to who comes in our lives, regardless to who leaves out of our lives, we are the one constant. We are the main constant in everything that we go through in our lives, because it's our life, it's our story. And until you take your last breath, it's still being written. And many times people will put a period where a comma is supposed to be, and then on the flip side, they'll put a comma where a period is supposed to be. And when you put that period there, you got to realize that you got to turn the page, or you got to skip down and write the next paragraph, right? And so the thing is, these people, they make up plenty of emotional room for their relationship, which means that they sincerely listen to each other and that they are in tune, and their energies coincide with one another, and that they remember the major events that one another have gone through, and that they learn how to keep up to date with the things that really matter the most. And think about how their feelings of each other's reality, how they change and evolve. And the key thing to remember, especially when it comes to relationships, is that nothing you can give is more appreciated than your sincere, focused, undivided attention. I had a conversation recently with a friend of mine, and one of the things that I discovered is that, I'm not going to say discovered, I was reminded of, so to speak, is that people love when you give them your undivided attention. And there are many times where it means a lot when you can hop off of Facebook and have a genuine conversation, or if you're on the phone with someone, that there is no background noise going on, that there's no TV, blaring in the background, or you're not on a computer multitasking, so to speak, but that it's silence and you're in tune with what they're saying and you're genuinely paying attention, because people like when you pay attention to them, because they don't feel like they're just talking to a brick wall, so to speak. And so that's important, especially in any type of relationship. And then the thing is, you have to realize that truly being with someone and listening without a clock and without anticipation of the next event is a major and sincere compliment. And because it is indeed the most valuable gesture you can make to them, and it arms you with the information you need to truly know them and love them and support them in the long run. And it's also important to realize that if two people care about each other and want to maintain a healthy relationship, and those that are watching that are married can really speak to this. If two people care about each other, and want to maintain a healthy relationship, they absolutely need to be allowed to openly communicate all of their feelings, keyword all of their feelings, to each other, their true authentic feelings, and not just the feelings where they know that the person is going to, agree with them, or just the positive ones. You got to be willing, and you got to be able to talk about everything. And chances are you will find out if people can really handle the truth, or they just want to hear all the positive stuff. Because if you just want to hear all the positive stuff, somebody is not being authentic. Because I don't care how long you've been married, I don't care how long you've been involved with someone, every day, like there are some times where, you're going to wake up and you're going to really love that person. And you're going to really be in tune with that person. And I have family watching. My cousin Sonia and her husband to be married, I believe, 14 years tomorrow. And so it looks like my pastor is watching. And so him and his wife have been married over 15 years. They're getting close to 16 now. So with that, there are some times where you love your spouse, you into them, they the best thing since sliced bread, but then there are certain moments where you just don't like that person. You love them, but at that moment, you just don't like them. And you got to be able to get through all of that, because that's important. Because if you're just going to fold when stuff gets tough, then that really is an indictment against you. And that's something that you really got to check yourself with and check yourself about, because ultimately, if you do that, you're going to find yourself by yourself. So I'm just being honest with you. And then not only that, if being authentic or being genuine is not allowed or supported by one party or both parties in the relationship, if one person, fears punishment for being honest, deception will gradually replace love and trust, and it ultimately lead to a complete emotional disconnection, so to speak. And one of the easiest ways to find out the most meaningful moments of presence with the people who matter to you the most is to work together on something, because there's power in collaboration. Because no man really is an island. No woman is really an island. We weren't designed to be that. We were designed to complement one another. And so understand this. If you have someone in mind whom you like to strengthen your relationship with, find a way to work side by side or work hand in hand on a project that intrigues the both of you. And then for example, even with all the stuff that they're putting in our food, all the the GMOs and nonsense, you could plant a communal garden together, or you can meet once a week to collaborate and work on a project, such as paint a mural, or even running a side business, so to speak. And then also attend a life-changing or life-enhancing conference. And I know that one of my cousins in Dallas recently went to a marriage conference. And so that's something that you can do, whether it's live or whether it's online. And then afterwards, after you've attended, manage to, mindfully examine what was discussed and talk freely about it. And that's another opportunity for working hand in hand on something meaningful and something worthwhile. And then the other thing, and I'll be wrapping this up shortly, you got to realize something, especially when you're dealing with being genuine. Passion is everything. passion really says a lot. And people pay attention to what you're really passionate about, whether they say something about it or not. It would be easier if they said something about it, but that's just too much like right. And so if you're going to be passionate about something, choose to engage passionately in whatever you choose to do, especially in your relationships, in the relationships that matter to you the most, because passion is powerful and it rests deep inside of us, and it passionately drives us. It passionately drives our feelings, our choices, and our courses of action. And it cannot be ignored, and it should not be ignored, because your passion will likely become the sole source of your greatest achievements and your finest moments. Think about that. Think about the excitement that you have, or that you had, when you first fell in love. And this is for people that are in a relationship or people that are married. Think about that excitement that you once had when you realized that, I could really see myself with this person for quite some time. Think about that. What comes from that is, it's an excitement that comes over you. Think about doing something or working on something that speaks directly to your inner man, that speaks directly to your spirit. When you work on your passion, when you are operating your purpose, it starts to not even feel like work, because it's just something that naturally, it just comes naturally to you. And then think about, when you do that, you have clarity. You develop clarity within your purpose, clarity of your purpose. And then think about the idea of letting go and being one in the present moment, because oftentimes we can kill a moment worrying about what the next moment is going to be, or we can overthink a decision that we need to make because of something that may have happened in our past, instead of just embracing and being in the moment. And one of the things that reminded me of that is when I was in Mexico with some friends and my family back in July, because regardless to what was going on prior to my arrival there, for the most part, all I cared about during that time I was there was in that moment of time. And that's often what we need to do, because it will benefit us. It will benefit us in ways that we couldn't possibly imagine. And in a nutshell, this is what passion gradually does for you. And without it, there is little peace of mind in the end. Just a hollow existence of unfulfilled dreams, unfulfilled promises, and a lifetime left mostly unlived. Think about this. The most depressing place on earth, but also the richest place on earth. You know where it's at? It's the cemetery. Because in the cemetery, there are a lot of unlived dreams, a lot of promises that we've broken to ourselves, a lot of unwritten books, a lot of unmade records, a lot of untapped ideas, because we didn't have someone, willing to speak life into us, or we didn't believe in our dreams enough to go after it. Because how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's a sad but harsh reality. And that may sound a little melodramatic, but it's the unadulterated truth. And then think about this. If your life is going to mean anything, 20 years down the road, 40 years down the road, Lord willing, or even 10 years down the road, you have to actively and passionately live it every day until then. And the easiest way to do that is to nurture and be thankful for those relationships that you know are genuine. Those that you don't feel like they're taking advantage of you. Those where when your back is against the wall, they're present. They might not know what to say, but they'll check on you. Or when you're in the midst of a struggle where you feel comfortable enough to be able to go and talk to them and just really pour your heart out to them. Yeah, they may not be able to understand. But sometimes people are not looking for you to fix their problem. They're looking for you to just listen. And you have to be able to use discernment. You have to be able to understand when it's time to go into, coming up with a plan of action, and when they just need a listening ear or need a sounding board. Because we all have those moments. Whether we are romantically linked to somebody or not. And it's good to have those type of people in your corner. And you have to deeply engage yourself in people and in activities that move you into action and not just remain stagnant. And what I mean by that is the key thing to realize is that almost any activity can move you if you allow it to. And you don't need some massive life-gulfing passion to subtly appear in your life, because real passion comes from within. And people know when it's real, people know when it's being authentic, and people know when you're being inauthentic, dishonest, etc. They know because they can see it, and they know they can hear it. Because if you're around somebody enough, you know when their energy is right, and when when they're off or something is not quite right. And you don't have to be blood to realize that. So nurture those relationships. That's important. And because not only does real passion come from within, the source of the passion in your life may be as simple as having a job to do, or having your own business that's thriving so that you can feed your family, for example, and feel good about doing it the right way. And so my challenge to you is this, as I wrap this up. My challenge to you is this. Live your life not as a bystander. Live in this world on this day and every day hereafter as an active, passionate participant. I'm going to say it again. Live your life not as a bystander, but live in this world on this day and every day thereafter as an active, passionate participant. Because many of us are still hopelessly trying to find our passion, something we believe will ultimately lead us closer to happiness, success, or the life situation we ultimately want. And I say hopelessly primarily because passion cannot really be found. And when we say we're trying to find our passion, it implies that our passion is somehow hiding behind a tree or under a rock or something. And that's far from the truth. Because the truth is, our passion comes from doing things right. And if you're waiting somehow to find your passion somewhere outside of yourself, think about this. You finally have a reason to put your whole heart and soul into your life, and also to the things that you're working on. You'll be likely waiting around for an eternity. So again, if you're waiting to somehow find your passion somewhere outside of yourself, you'll likely be waiting for the rest of your life. You'll be waiting for an eternity. On the other hand, if you're tired of waiting and you'd rather live more passionately starting today and experience more meaning in your life in the long run, then it's time to get proactive and start working on what you know you need to be working on. Ask yourself these questions. Number one, when was the last time you sat down and worked on something with no distractions and 100% focus? Because that's actually something I'm doing over the next 40 days. When was the last time you exercised? And these are just examples. When was the last time you exercised and literally put every bit of effort that you could muster into it? When was the last time you truly tried to do your absolute best? And the reason I say that is when I was a kid, my grandmother used to tell me, stop waiting for better opportunities, because the one you have in front of you is the best opportunity. And she also said, too often we spend too much time making it perfect in our heads before we even do it. And the sad thing is that affects our relationships, because the moment that someone does something where they don't meet your expectations, you feel a sense of disappointment, or you feel like they've let you down. And that's a level of unfairness that you have afforded them, because nobody's perfect. So I wanted to, that's what I wanted to share this evening. And I trust that it was of value to you, something that, it gave you something to think about. Because all of our relationships are not genuine. I mean, let's just be honest. They're not. And if we're real about it, there are a lot of relationships that we really need to get rid of because they're toxic. And they have stunted our progress long enough. But again, we know that we have toxic relationships. And by us choosing not to let go of them before now, that makes us accountable. And so no one is 100% blameless in a situation. And so that's something that we really got to take heed to. So having said all that, I trust that, I've done my job to provide value tonight. If I did, let me know in the comments section. If you got value, feel free to share this video, share this podcast. Remember, in life, you have two choices. You can make moves or you can make excuses, but you most certainly cannot do both. And if you have not already done so, thanks to everyone who has been so supportive of my website, from, purchasing apparel and accessories and whatnot. If you have not already done so, make sure you check out my website at www.motivation2elevation.com. Again, that's www.motivation2elevation.com. Again, it's yours truly, Arian Tyson, the Moving Motivator. I will be back next Tuesday, same time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, for another edition of the Motivation to Elevation Facebook Live podcast. So I will talk to you later. Peace.